It was over before
right.
Chris Paul got injured. I not for 1 minute thought that the Suns were going to be able to beat the Lakers, and I've said as much. All right, and Brandon shot me down. He ridiculed me. He mocked me, all of that stuff. But I told him his Suns did not have a chance in this series. The Suns this is great for them because DeAndre Ayton is coming of age. Devin Booker's getting his first taste of the playoffs. So this is going to bode well for them in the future. But this series is over. And the reason it's over is because the Lakers beat the Suns in a way like that you can't just write off. They didn't edge them. They didn't get a big shot at the end. They didn't get hot from three, which anybody in the league can do, so the Suns can brush that off. They beat the Suns in a way that the Suns and really hardly anybody else in the league can counter. They use their size. They overwhelm them with their size. I've been saying it forever that if you're going to go big and play Andre Drummond and Anthony Davis and LeBron James on the front line together, then play big. Don't just go big, but then drive and kick and shoot threes all the time and be finesse like all the other teams in the league. Use your size to your advantage, and they did it last night. 58 points in the paint. That's 14 more than they had in either of the first two games. Heck, in the first game, they were outscored in the paint by the smaller Phoenix Suns. But last night, the third quarter, when the Lakers really took over, they scored all 13 of their field goals in the third quarter in the paint. Only other points outside of the paint were at the free throw line. I mean, that's when you demoralize a team. When you just pound them in a way that what can they do? They're not as big as you. They're not as strong as you. And that's why in Phoenix's mind, they just got bullied, and everybody should see now that this thing is over.
Chris, you're tripping. For real. You take CP3 off of that team, you have nothing. I know he played, in the first game, went down in the second quarter. That's when they lost this series. 23 minutes, 6 points. Come on, that's not a performance that you would expect from CP3. Obviously, he's hurting like everyone knows. Last game, 27 minutes, 7 points. Come on, man. Let's not act like CP3 hasn't been, top 5 clutch players the last 3 years. This is statistically proven. Look it up. Google it if you want to. This series was their series to lose, and they lost it with 9 minutes to go in the second quarter in the first game. If CP3 was there, it would be totally different. Now, you are right about the defensive side. That's one thing they could control. Watching that game, that was one thing that jumped out. Too many easy buckets in the paint. Too many breakdowns on the defensive side. Wide open. How do you do that? You saw Crowder, LeBron James playing with them. This is fundamentals. You give up the baseline, and then you see Ayton on other plays where you see LeBron James driving to the paint and barely contesting his shot. Like, what are you doing, bro? You're not in foul trouble. So please miss me with that, Chris, as far as the series was over before it started. Now, they look good last night. They look good the last 2 nights. The question, Wilds, is AD. Can AD be consistent? Now, this is back-to-back games with 30-plus points. And another telling stat right here, because we talked about this a couple months or a month ago, was, look, he's having a terrible year. How did you know that? How do you go from averaging 80% from the free throw line to 60? I said, look, you're a shooter. You never lose that touch. I can go in the YMCA today and drop 70% because I was a 70% free throw shooter growing up, right? You got some, oh, no, Brandon, you can't do that. And what ended up happening? I went in the gym, and what I did, I banged out 8 in a row. I was 80%. Now you look at AD last night. AD was 12 for 14. What is that? 80-something% from the 83% from the free throw line. AD may be back. Get your brow right, Nick.
Oh, okay. All right. There's so many things to sort of unpack here. I'll try to make it fast. First of all, Brandon has admitted on national television that the hoop that he shot 80% on is not 10 feet because of a quote-unquote electrical issue at House of Athlete. There's some wiring issues that the hoop had to be brought down to 9 foot.
It's 10-3.
It was not 10-3. If it's 10-3, then it's still not regulation. and I'm reluctant to encourage Nick to continue his Carrot Top type escapades of bringing props into the show. But not only is the brow back, the king is back as well. I don't know if you have a crown there as well in your trunk of supplies.
But I got you.
Because for 2.5 games, Nick, we saw LeBron playing super passive. We talked about him playing until he's 40 years old because he's playing like old guy in the Y. The first half of last game, he's playing like pretty easy, just distributing the ball on the outside. Then go forward to the second half, Chuck is like, man, I think LeBron's hurt. LeBron's like, oh, word, you think I'm hurt? All in the paint. He turned back into old LeBron. And I think, like, if he is going to be this LeBron and sort of like warm up LeBron, get your teammates involved, LeBron is over, then we're starting to see like him moving into phase 2 of his playoff strategy.
Yeah, I love Chuck in just about everything he does, aside from his basketball analysis. And unfortunately, Chuck
Everything else.
has, what's the line from Ted Lasso? Be like a goldfish, have no memory. Chuck quite too often is like a goldfish, as is the rest of seemingly NBA media. It's like, oh, what's LeBron doing? And the answer is, same thing he does every year. Trying to get his shooters going. Because the goal is not to win game 1 of the first round. The goal is to win game 16 of the postseason. And in order to do that, you have to get your shooters going. So how about this for a stat? Which team has shot the most wide open threes of any team in these playoffs? The Lakers. And it's not close. They've shot 53. That's 6 feet or more of space. No other team has shot even 43. Which team is right now, however, shooting the worst percentage on open or wide open threes? 4+ feet of space. The Lakers. LeBron knows to win the title, we are going to have to hit shots. So just like last year, folks were like, why is he passing to Danny Green so much? Drive to the basket, LeBron. It's because they're going to need him to win the title. It's mind-boggling that people still don't get this. Now, Brandon, I have a very quick question for you. When did you say this series ended? When was it? Because you were very precise with it. When did this series end?
The second quarter in the first game, 9 minutes and 19 seconds in the second quarter, to be exact.
Okay, do you want to know when this series actually ended? December 30th, 1984. The day LeBron James was born. Once that happened, we were set on this path for the Lakers to play the Suns, and the moment that happened, it was over. It was over. They had no chance. And no, the Suns know it. Because, Brandon, the Suns... Go ahead, Brandon, please.
Well, no, I want to go back to the shooting thing, right? Because you're talking about, LeBron's trying to get his guys involved because he doesn't want them to look like, what was it, the 2016 Cavs, where LeBron got his team to the finals and you had J.R. Smith.
Yep.
Nobody, was it 2015? He's trying to do that, but it could end up that way too. Trying to get his shooters involved, and they just never get it going. Because they was 7 for 28 last night, 25%.
Yeah.
That Cavs team in 2015, if J.R. Smith would hit one shot, they win against the Warriors. He couldn't hit one shot. And who else did you have? I mean, Shumpert, defensive guy. But come on, man.
Yeah,
this team right here, they need to get going, because if they don't, they're not going to even make it to the finals.
Listen, they do have to get going. There's no question about it, but I think they will, particularly in the next round when they're playing either the Nuggets or the Blazers, who are not the defensive team the Suns are. And the Suns know it too, because the Suns have gotten to the place in the series against LeBron where you start saying irrational things. So we saw this years ago when LeBron was with the Heat and Danny Ainge was like talking about the officiating being so pro-LeBron, and Pat Riley sent that great press release saying Danny Ainge needs to shut the bleep up. We saw it in 2016 when the unanimous MVP's wife accused the league of being rigged for ratings or money because LeBron was driving her crazy. Okay. And last night you saw Chris Paul at the podium calling it a worldwide conspiracy, making Scott Foster the official because that's what's costing the Suns. Like, this is what happens when you get in a series against LeBron and you realize we can't beat him. You start going to the metaphysical realm, the conspiracy realm. You're like, it's all against us. It's like, no, this guy's just too good for you.
No.
That's what happens, Jenna, consistently.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from First Things First, or go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.